All right, it is 1 o'clock EST on the dot, so we are going to get this kicked off. I want to be cautious of everyone's time. So, hello everyone, and a huge welcome to the sMedia dealership webinar series. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and joining us, especially as we head into the busy holiday season. We definitely know how valuable your time is, and we promise to make every minute of it that you're here with us worth it. We are here today for one simple reason to put a stop on wasted ad spend. So you are investing significant money to bring high intent shoppers to your digital showroom, but if your website is secretly sabotaging that effort with things like slow speeds, clunky designs, confusing steps, too many clicks, you are essentially pouring those ad dollars right back down the drain. So today we're going to dive deep into these conversion killers. You will learn how to uncover the precise usability issues that are most likely costing you leads and definitely costing you your ad spend. So, you want to spend the money, get that traffic, but at the same time, you really want to make sure that that traffic is then able to navigate to your site and get to exactly what it is they are looking for. So, today you will also walk away with tangible action items as well as fixes. I am thrilled to introduce our experts who will be leading the conversation today with over 30 years of combined automotive digital experience. First, we have Erin Richmond. She is our CEO here at sMedia. She is the executive vision behind connecting high level digital strategy with tangible business results. She, again, is currently serving as the CEO here at sMedia, and she is an absolute pro at simplifying the complex digital ecosystem and using the power of data to ensure every single dollar you're spending is strategic. Her passion lies in creating a truly seamless customer experience, connecting the digital and in-store worlds to drive clear, measurable ROI. And joining her is oh, go ahead.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, and joining her is Alecia Wilson, our head of growth. Alecia specializes in turning dealer goals into high performance online strategies, focusing intensely on maximizing conversion and user flow. She has worked directly with automotive dealerships across North America to help them identify and fix the hidden flaws that kill sales. Alecia is an expert when it comes to executing a growth plan that gets operations moving forward. Now, just before we jump in, one quick little note. We absolutely want to answer all of your burning questions. So to help us do so and to make sure we don't miss any, please use the dedicated Q&A feature you'll see on your screen for all questions and avoid using the general chat for those question submissions. We will then be tracking the Q&A throughout this presentation, dedicating time at the end to address as many of those as possible. And then this will also ensure that if we do run out of time, we can follow up with you afterwards. So without further delay, let's learn how to stop wasting ad spend. Ladies, the screen is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angie. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. We absolutely appreciate that December is a crazy month for all of you. So to have you carve out some time to hang out with us and talk about websites and talk about conversions is honestly truly a blessing. So what is today's goal? So our big goal today is obviously understanding what your website experience may be costing your dealership. You all on this call spend so much time, effort, energy, and money investing in your online digital showroom. So what is it maybe costing you if there's a few things that we're missing? So what we really want to do today is identify maybe some weaknesses, maybe some opportunities for changes, the solutions that we can put into place so that you can optimize your buyer's experience through all of everything that they're able to do on the website. And we're going to give you some of the tools to be able to do that along the way. All right. So before we get started and dive into some of the things we want you to pay attention on your website, we got to go back to the basics a little bit. So what is UX? What is user experience? So the plain and simple definition is user experience is how a person feels when interacting with your website. So, why should you care about it? Well, it's all about making your site easy and enjoyable for shoppers, right? If they're coming to your website, you've spent money on an ad click, you want to get them there and you want them to have a good experience so that they ultimately fill out those elusive lead forms that we're all seeking. And good user experience means that people can easily find what they're looking for and quickly, right? That's going to lead to happy customers. That's going to lead to people loving being on your website, and it's going to lead to ideally more conversions and more leads for your stores. And conversely to that, a poor user experience can really frustrate people. It's going to cause those immediate bounces, and that's going to waste those ad dollars that we're talking about today, and ultimately cost you sales. So we don't want that. All right. So when we're thinking about user experience and we're thinking about what someone feels on your website, that might sound a little pie in the sky. It might sound a little like, oh, no one's going to my website and thinking about how they're feeling when they're going through it. But that is really what user experience is all about. So, how can you know what UX is doing or how UX might be feeling your ads and your customers potentially? So there's a few quick things here on the site that we're going to go through in different elements throughout today. So the first one being site speed. Definitely nothing new. Probably something we've talked about in the automotive industry for definitely the last, 10, 12, 13 plus years. And the goal has always been under that 3 second mark. And honestly, that really hasn't changed much over the years. And why is that 3 second mark important? Well, I'm guessing a lot of you on the call probably have the majority of your website traffic coming from mobile right now. And the stats say, 53% of mobile visitors, they're going to leave that site immediately if it doesn't load in 3 seconds, right? Think about your own experience. Think about even when you're trying to use Google Maps and how frustrating that can be when it takes a little while to even load the nearest Starbucks or whatever store you're looking for. So think about that now when someone's looking for a very specific vehicle and they're searching on Google, they're sitting on the couch at night. If your website's not loading, they're just bouncing right back to Google and they're going to the next website, right? We don't want that. Content clarity. So, what does that mean? So, the big thing there is just depending on what someone's searching, that's the exact content that we want to make sure that we're showing that person. We don't want to send them to a different landing page. We don't want to send them to a home page if they've actually typed in a very specific year make model, for example. We want to make sure we're getting people exactly to where they want to go. Usability. So, we're going a little out of order here. Usability. So, improving that user experience. There is this kind of rule or myth out there that you should be able to find or get to anything on your website within 3 clicks. And while I do think that is relevant and important in certain situations, again, depending on what we're looking on your website, it's a myth because it's not really important about how many. Say, I think I got muted there for a quick second. So it's not as important to think about, oh, I need to get everywhere on my website within 3 clicks. What's more important is how easy is it for someone to find what they need on their website. So if it takes 5 clicks to get to something, but they get to exactly what they want, that is infinitely more important than trying to follow this 3 click rule. But you will hear that a lot, even if you're researching anything online in terms of user experience. You're going to find enough arguments that will go both ways. But that's kind of what I want you to think about when it comes to usability is just how easy is it to filter your inventory to find a specific year make model? How easy is it to book a service appointment? How many clicks does that take? And then lastly, aesthetic, right? So we always want things to be clean, easy to see. How do things look on desktop versus mobile? Again, nothing new, but I think a lot of what Erin and I want to focus on today is just going back to those basics and honestly shopping your own websites. All right. So now that we've gone through a little bit on, how UX might be hurting your ads, your ad performance, and impacting your customers, how can you figure any of this out? What can you do about it? So we do have a couple of tools that we definitely would suggest logging into. I appreciate, again, none of these are super new. Maybe one of them is, but hopefully this serves as a really good reminder that if you are not the one logging in and taking a peek at some of this data, that you're asking your providers to, you're asking your other partners to, or if you have an internal team, you're making sure that they're taking a peek behind the curtains on some of these things as well. So a big thing would be taking a look at leveraging tools like your Google Analytics. That's always going to be the first place to look. Hotjar is another great tool. There are a number of different conversion, performance, and website analytics website tools that you can leverage for things like click map data, heat map data, things of that nature. So what I would also suggest is asking your website providers. A lot of them might have this on your websites already, and they just might not have that access as that data as something you can easily access, but they might be able to share some of that information with you. And then lastly, page speed insights. So this is a free Google tool. We can definitely share links to all of these at the end as well. But page speed insights, it's a Google tool. It looks at, again, everything loading on your website and what's going to impact performance, because your website has so many layers of data, and you can start leveraging some of that to improve the overall user experience on your websites. So big thing when analyzing is, again, taking a peek. How are shoppers moving through your websites? Where are you seeing drop-off rates? Do you notice certain things spike at certain times and drop off at others? Sometimes things are just user behavior and seasonality, and sometimes it's an update got pushed through on your website and now tracking has completely fallen off. Well, if that happens, again, that's a potential big hole where your ad dollars are just going to fall into, and we're not going to know what's happening with them. And things to watch for, right? Friction points. Again, where are we seeing those drop-offs? Where are people exiting? Do we have broken experiences or broken links? So these are just some of the tools that you can leverage to keep track of all of that, and really just pay attention to how your website and that user experience may be impacting the ad dollars that you're spending to drive traffic there.
Awesome. Thanks, Alicia. Okay, so I think, we're talking about user experience. That's not really a new concept, probably to most of you in the call, but the amount that it's costing your dealership might be surprising, and how relevant it is to the success of your advertising and to the success of your marketing efforts overall, I think might be something that we haven't spent too much time talking or thinking about. So I really want to drive that home. I'm going to use an analogy. I am not a fisher person. I would rather just read my book on the boat. You all can deal with the slimy fish and put the hook in the water. But go with me. I suspect some of you will understand this analogy. So you have a lake full of car shoppers. All of these people are shopping around, moving through the water, looking for that perfect car. Your physical dealership is actually on shore, and your website is the fishing line that is going to pull them in. Some fish might just randomly jump out of the lake and land at your feet. Fantastic. That's a win. We call that some free traffic. We love it. Some other times you might have to pay and invest to bring them in. And those people are involved in the research and the shopping process, and they are in the weeds, so to speak. We've got to find them, we've got to reel them in, and we have to get them onshore to your dealership. To be as successful as possible, we need to catch as many fish as possible. So we've already established, I know a ton about fishing, clearly. You could just put your line in the water and hope that that fish is going to notice, or you could invest in a flashy hook, maybe add some bait. We're going to make decisions about what vendor to use or what ads to run and where to run them. And we're going to pay money to get in front of potential customers, or fish in this case, and stay top of mind so that when that fish is ready to bite, it is your hook and your bait and your line that is going to pull them in. So here we go. We've got the fish on the line. We are ready to take action. So the work starts now for you guys. We've created the ads, the fish has bit the hook, and we are starting to reel. The problem is your average attention span online is down to 47 seconds. And honestly, we're not much better than goldfish in that regard. It means you have 47 seconds to set that hook, get that fish to shore, and it doesn't seem like much time. 47 seconds on a website, if your load time is 5 seconds and it takes them 5, 6, 7 clicks or menu navigation options to get to where they're looking, you are quickly running out of time. And then we have to think about what the experience is once they finally get to the destination that they want. So time is ticking. Your shopper standards for quality website experience have literally never been higher. Every friction point and every click and every broken link and every chat window ding or cookie banner or slow loading image or scroll is costing you time and money because you've already paid to get them to the site. So I think we've all had a less than optimal online shopping experience on a dealership website. We can probably all think back to even recently when that has happened. And yet when leads are down at the store or we're struggling with sales, the common question that advertising partners get asked is, what's wrong with our ads? And I think this place that we really, really, really need to start, and I'm not saying this selfishly, I am saying this out of the best interest, is the website experience. Because if that site experience is bad, the best ad in the world is not going to sell a car. Advertising is not selling your cars. It is making sure you're being considered when the purchase decision is made. It is the hook. Now, don't get me wrong, you can absolutely spend money on a crappy hook. I've seen it happen, or even the wrong hook. But your website, your reputation, your customer experience will absolutely determine your sales success. So, next slide, the smart investment here is a good, solid website experience. That should be the foundation of everything you do digitally and online. The website world, we like to think, is pretty standardized at this point. All of the providers who are on programs or even off programs are offering similar or comparable site platforms. The challenge is when it gets implemented, what you do with it to set yourself apart, your product merchandising, the widgets, the tools, all of the banners, the custom logos and homepage sliders that you add are going to create a better, more positive experience, slow the site down, speed the site up. There's a lot of work you can do after a site launches to make that site better. Your site should be thought of as a live representation of your dealership. It's not a set it and forget it platform, and it's not just going to magically work if you put it out into the wild. Just like when you reel in that fish, you have to pay attention to the tautness of the line. Again, expert fisher person here. The action of your reel and taking extra care to get that fish out of the water. It's more of an art than a science, but if you're disappointed in your digital results, you should absolutely start with your website. Again, it's the virtual representation of your physical dealership and your brand. And it's one of the most important properties you own in this day and age. So let's put that into real world experience. Here's a prime example. I'm not picking on any dealerships. This is a pretty common scenario. I'm preparing for a meeting with this dealership. I'm looking at the advertising results. I'm looking at the analytics and the traffic in GA4, and I'm saying, hey, it looks like these guys had a fantastic month. Cost per click is great. Click-through rate is strong. Traffic to the site is up. And I go into the meeting and the dealership says, we had a terrible month. We're getting our lunch is being eaten by our competitors. What is going on? And then the work starts. We got to dig in. Obviously, we have a problem. So looking at the website, we found it was painfully slow to load on mobile. It's taking multiple clicks to phone the dealership. The menu navigation for the inventory was going to a model showroom or a build-in price and never to live inventory. They had stock photos as their primary images. Their VDP call to actions were taking them off the VDP page, and it required a click to get back to the VDP. And sometimes that click back would actually take you to the SRP, which was completely not where we wanted them to be. And ultimately was really hard to find finance and lease information. So as a customer, if I type in a Mazda in this case, and I want to find the Mazda 3, and I like the red one, and I get to the vehicle details page, and I want to make that purchase decision or decide to even contact the dealership, I have a bunch of clicks and a bunch of hoops to jump through, a bunch of wait time to happen. And meanwhile, I've got 17 notifications on my phone. My boss is actually asking me what I'm doing today because I'm on my coffee break and it's now 20 minutes. All of the distraction of the modern world have come in and taken me away from what I was actually trying to do, which was just get information on this car. So what does that actually cost? And how do we make a difference in terms of the customer experience here? So I think the opportunity costs that we can all see from this experience, and probably just looking at your own websites, is that small tweaks can make a really big impact on your site performance and your results. This is a study, these stats are actually from a study done by Shift Digital in 2025, talking about site performance and how it impacts overall dealership results. Small things like adding quality photos and improving site speed is going to lead to more engagement. And that means that you're more likely to make a sale, or at the very least, you are less likely to lose it before you even talk to the customer. And I think my point with this slide is that these aren't abstract ideas. These are concrete numbers from reputable studies that are showing real return or waste because of website experience. It's not just me selfishly saying that, the ads are fine, look somewhere else. It's me saying everything needs to work together for us to optimize and get as many opportunities as possible. And I think what we all need to consider as we're heading into this market where we're really not sure how it's going to go between tariffs and inventory and consumer finance strains, we really need to do everything we can to capture as much opportunity as possible. And stuff like this is well within your control. And stuff like this is going to make your ad budgets just go that much further. So let's look at what this potentially cost this particular dealership. So their monthly ad spend, as we looked at the start, was about, so they spent about $1.93 a click and they had about 3,800 clicks. So in this example, if we consider that they lost about 20% of their overall, 30% of their overall spend because of bad experience, they could have lost as much as $2,200 in the single month. So the thing that I want everyone to consider, anyone who's looking at finances and operations and the actual costs of for your dealership, is that bad UX is not a concept. It is absolutely a line item. And if we're not thinking about it in that way, then we are thinking about it incorrectly. Okay. So we're going to pop a poll up on the screen. And we want to know, how do you think your website is performing versus how it actually is?
Ooh, okay, the answers are rolling in. We'll give everyone maybe like 20 more seconds. Okay, currently sharing the results. So we had 63% somewhat confident, 26% not confident, 11% of you are very confident, and we had nobody say not sure. So that's great because we wouldn't want anyone not to know what their site looks like or how it acts.
I think somewhat confident. Honestly, we did this poll down in another workshop, Erin and I, and honestly, that was the number one response there too. So I think, the biggest thing I would say is one, you're not alone. I think everyone has a certain degree of confidence that your website is working to a certain level, and B, you don't really know if there's anything else you could be doing to make it perform better. So that's really what the main goal of today is. It's not to say your website's the problem necessarily, or to say like, hey, let's go blaming all these other vendors or partners you might be working with, but it is a really good opportunity to just take a deeper dive and look at some of those things, because sometimes there are little tweaks that need to be made. So our goal is that we want to get you from that somewhat confident, or that, maybe not sure, to fully confident. All right, I think we have two more poll questions. So the next one I'll launch right away here.
So the next one is, how easy is it for shoppers to find inventory on your website? And I encourage you, open an incognito window, mobile, desktop, take a look, act as a customer does. You guys, your sales team, you're on those sites all the time. You know exactly where to go, what to look for. But think about, like Alecia said earlier, a customer, sitting on the couch, kind of half paying attention, make sure they can get to what they are looking for easily. We'll give everyone maybe a few more seconds to answer.
While you guys are answering, I would also encourage you to do it from your mobile device, not from your desktop, because the experience can be very, very different. I would also encourage you guys to use the search bar if you have a navigation search bar. Try that as well as clicking through navigation. Understand what the links are to get to your inventory. This dealer that I used as an example, he didn't know that his menu navigation links were going to a build and price or a showroom instead of his live inventory. So always worth an audit.
Good points, Erin. So the results are in. We are seeing 79% say very easy, 1 to 2 clicks. That's fantastic. 12% of you said not as easy as it should be. You really do have to know where to click. So maybe some improvements could be made there. And same with 9% saying slightly easy, takes a little bit of clicking around.
And I would also add once you've gotten to the inventory itself, just the SRP, try and filter and play with your filters a little bit because in my experience, almost no inventory filter on a website is without critique. And work with your website provider to figure out how to make that an easier time.
While Angie's loading the last question here, the other thing that I think I would also suggest for that is, Angie said it too, we're so used to being on the websites all the time, and we have every single one of you on this call probably has a very specific way you're searching. And if you do have one of those search bars, you might just be searching by stock number because you have that handy and you're copy and pasting it in, and that makes it super easy. I would challenge you, like, ask some friends and family over, like, we're heading into the Christmas holidays right away here. You're going to be around a lot of people. Have your website loaded on your phone and just be like, hey, can I get you to take 3 seconds to see if you can find this XYZ vehicle and just see what happens and see how long it takes? It's like a real live kind of group case study around the Christmas table. I think it'd be interesting. I think you'd be very surprised for where people get stuck, or how they navigate your website versus how you would since you're on it every single day.
Awesome. And our last poll is up. What is the top item impacting conversions on your website? Multiple choice, so you can select more than one. And we'll just give everyone a few seconds to answer there. Ooh, okay. Interesting.
I'm always so excited to see what the poll results come in at.
I know I'm watching them and I'm saying it's exciting, and you guys are all probably like, well, what's exciting? Tell us.
100%.
But people are still answering, so I'll give you guys about 10 more seconds. Oh, okay. 5 more seconds, 3 more seconds. This is a
Everyone's
very
changing their mind.
popular question. Yeah, it's still going. Okay, so results are in. We are seeing a 56%, 56% of you said lead forms, followed by 34% pricing, very close, 31% photos. We have an option for making your photos look much better on your website, your inventory as a whole. 28% CTA, and then 16% other.
Okay, so a little bit of a mixed bag for what might be impacting conversions on the websites. Okay, so oh, thanks for sharing those, Angie. I think that, yeah, great to get some insights. And again, I think the whole practice and purpose of today is just, if you're thinking those things and you're having those challenges and that's how you're feeling, these are great conversations to start having as you're heading into the new year. Where I know no one wants to say it yet because we still got to finish out 2025 strong, but 2026 is around the corner, and let's start off on a really good note. So with that, I do have some Christmas homework for you. So what is the homework? Well, if you're on your desktop right now, or if you have your mobile device open too, this is a quick little bit.ly link. It's going to take you to a Google Sheet page where you can just click to make a copy. And what's nice is that this is completely for you. Once you make that copy, you can rename it, you can edit it, you can do whatever you would like with it. We put some of the main things we think you should take a quick little peek through as you're auditing your websites and shopping them. Either internally with your store, again, maybe around that Christmas dinner table coming up. But what's great is you can have this forever. So you can do it as is right now. And then you have this copy, so you can tweak it, you can change it, you can make it more relevant for your specific store or brands, things like that. So definitely encourage you to take it. I think Angie's going to throw the bit.ly link in the chat as well, so that you can just copy and paste it, so you have it too. But we wanted to make sure this was a good worksheet takeaway for you guys after the webinar here. Okay, so once you have the worksheet open, what are you going to do with it? What's the homework here? So the big thing is, while we don't have time to go through everyone's websites on the webinar today, unfortunately, we just wanted to make sure you had this as something to take away. So there are 6 core areas that we want you to focus on. They're all labeled under section 1 in that worksheet if you have it open. And then where are you starting? Well, you're starting with the homepage, right? Let's start reviewing the overall layout, those key elements. A lot of you said you think you can get to inventory within 1 to 2 clicks. Great. Let's give it a good audit, right? Think of how many different ways it's the 1 to 2 clicks to get to that inventory. Think of the visual hierarchy, right? We know not everyone is scrolling to the bottom. Every heat map that you would look at on any website, no matter where you are, no matter what OEM, nobody's scrolling to the bottom, right? So like, where's the hierarchy, and do you have the most important things at the top? Is your navigation intuitive? And by intuitive, I also mean, is it common? Right? I think in automotive, we get stuck using a lot of nomenclature that we're very used to, and we forget that the average shopper is not going to use the same words that we're going to use when we're looking at a website. So something else to keep in mind. So calls to action, right? Are they prominent? Are they easy to understand? Do we know what button we're clicking on and where it's going to take me? When they have a specific vehicle in mind, what's that experience like? So we've talked about that one a few times today. Erin even said, if you have the search bar, sure, test your site out using that, but also test out using those filters. So what I also want you all to do is to take off that GM hat, take off that marketing manager hat, get rid of those years of experience that you all have, and you got to put on that first time car buyer hat. You got to put on that, hey, I got to upgrade my vehicle hat. Hey, I need to buy winter tires for the first time ever hat. You got to put those hats on when you're going through this exercise, not your I'm the marketing manager, I built this website from scratch and I've been working on it for 15 years hat. So we do got to kind of put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are actually shopping and coming to the website. And what next? So when it comes to those elusive leads, we've talked about lead forms a few times. So how easy are they to fill out? Are we asking for their firstborn child or where they grew up just to check availability on a unit? Because that's crazy. We don't want that. And please, please, please don't forget to test your sites on mobile. We've said it 2 or 3 times already on this webinar. So I'm going to say it again, but we want to make sure you're testing everything on mobile. How easy is it to click all of those CTAs? Can you accidentally click the wrong thing because the buttons are too close? I know it's called the fat finger test, but again, it could be called the long nail test. It could be called the my phone screen is not, the iPhone Mega Pro, whatever it's called now, right? So everything's going to be spaced out differently. You got to test it and try it. What's it like finding a specific make, model, trim on your mobile device? A lot of websites will change and reorder how the SRP and filters work from desktop to mobile. So what's that feel like? And what are you showcasing within those first few scrolls? Again, desktop, it's less scrolls because it's a bigger screen and they're still not making it to the bottom. So on mobile, they're not going more than a few scrolls past, right? So what does that feel like? What does that do? So now that you have your homework, we've gone through a little bit of, what you should be doing on the website and things like that. The big takeaways are, to highlight priorities to address with your web providers, highlight some changes that you can hopefully make internally if you have a team or if you have access to your website. And honestly, try and do this exercise. We'd say at least once a quarter. make a copy of that worksheet, like I said, tweak it for your group or your store needs. And remember, not everything can change overnight, but there's always some kind of improvement that can be made. We know you can't control everything. We know that you can't change everything overnight. We also know that the OEMs dictate certain things that you're not going to get much leeway or flexibility on. So do what you can. Every little improvement is going to be better than where it was before because now we've brought you back to those basics. You're probably already, I'm guessing everyone on this call has another tab open with their website, or you've been shopping your website on your phone while we've been chatting. So hopefully it's starting to light that fire of certain things that you can already check and start getting in the books and getting the work tracked so that you can kick the new year off with like a fresh, clean start on some of your websites. All right. So I'm going to pass things off for Erin for our final remarks here. But again, just want to say thank you to everyone, and we're all really excited for some of these changes and the conversations.
Thanks, Alecia. So guys, the Q&A is open. If you guys want to go ahead and pop any questions in there, we'll answer some of the questions that are already in the chat. And I know this seems kind of like a basic, like, okay, back to basics, like, why are we talking about this? But, I think at the end of the day, the assumption is that you launch the website and it's static and like you'll change like an image or you'll change, maybe the homepage banner, and everything else stays the same. But the reality is that your website providers are pushing code updates and so are your tool providers all of the time. And so that website is actually a living, breathing thing. And I love website providers. I think there are a lot of really good ones out there, but chances are something could break. Your navigation could break. Your site content might be outdated. Things happen. And so not having an eye on that site and a regular part of a performance process to go through that site and audit those things is going to leave money on the table for you guys. So it is basic, yes. It is a very crucial reminder to all of us, especially those people on your marketing team and GMs and salespeople, to just like take a look, see what we're saying on the website. What's the customer experience? How can we make it better? And also customer expectations change. And if we're not doing our best to keep up with those customer expectations, then we are probably falling behind. 10 years ago, we expected customers to have to send in a form lead or chat with us to understand or to get more details or information on the car they were buying. And nowadays, they don't expect to have to do that. For us to be expecting them to do it is us falling behind in terms of what the shoppers really want. So it's important to evaluate it from a shopping experience and really try to push ourselves forward and meet those customer expectations. Everyone's expecting an Amazon experience. We're far from that right now, but it's coming. And the faster you move towards that and adapt your processes, the better off you'll be, the more you're going to sell, the more efficient your advertising spend is going to be, which is what I want for all of you on the call. So with that, we can turn it over for Q&A.
All right, we do have a few questions. So the first one is, are homepage sliders a good website experience for customers?
I would go with the classic, it depends. So you first off, I think you need to understand the entry point on your website. Where are people coming into your site? Are they coming in on the homepage? From an organic perspective, yes. So what information that homepage banner is front and center do you want to give them? Because chances are the guy who just came into your site may not actually be interested in the 2025 Buick Encore. So what messaging do you want to hit them right off the hop? And then also, is that homepage banner causing your site to load slower? Is it optimized for mobile load times? That is prime real estate. And I think the trend right now, especially from a mobile perspective, is to push an inventory search filter to that original homepage banner spot, and I don't disagree with that. So I would actually encourage you guys, if you're trying to weigh the options, to do maybe a little bit of heat mapping and a little bit of site recording to understand if customers are interacting with those or if they're just in the way and annoying your customers. It's prime real estate. You need to make sure that that is being used as effectively as possible. I don't know, Alecia.
Well, I was gonna say, I know that's one where the OEMs come in a lot too, and that goes perfectly to what I just said on the last slide too. We know the OEMs are gonna dictate certain things, and some of them might just dictate that you have to have it. So if you are being dictated to have it, there are other questions I would also ask. Do you need to have all of them? Do you need to have 50 cell slides on there? Probably not. There's probably a lower requirement. But to Erin's point, again, which one, if we only need to have a couple, which one can we prioritize? And can we just make them as simple as possible and hide them on mobile? That would be also my recommendation is just don't even have them mobile optimized, just completely hide the sliding carousel to ensure you're having your inventory filters right at the top. And then maybe if there's some really good messaging on some of those homepage sliders, just have that as like a content piece instead that can just live on the homepage versus keeping it in a slider.
Yeah. I would actually also tag on to that too. If you find that a lot of your traffic is entering the site on the SRP, on the search results page, know that the common trend is to put a banner at the top of the SRP. And I was guilty of that when I worked at the dealership as well. I would put an SRP about like whatever promotion we're running. And like that might be relevant, but also, again, if you look at that from a mobile perspective, that SRP banner might be taking up 50% of your real estate on a mobile when someone's coming into search results. So, how relevant is that message? Is it necessary? Is it doing what you want it to do, or is it just in the way? I see a lot of trade tools putting their banners there, and not that that's a bad thing if you're driving a lot of trade results, but I would challenge you guys to understand, are the conversions from the trade tool happening on the SRP or are they happening on the VDP? Something to really think about.
Awesome. The next question is, how do you ensure so this is kind of a personal question. How do you ensure your clients that you're sending the right traffic to the website?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you would consider the right traffic. If you're an sMedia client and you're subscribed to kind of our standard advertising, we are targeting based on your live inventory. So all of our ad groups and all of our campaigns are based on what you have in stock. And we control on Google search, for example, which I'm assuming where this question is going, we control the search terms using a specific keyword list that I have crafted and honed over the past and Taylor, our head of ad operations, who is on this call, we constantly monitor and maintain that list of keywords. And then we also have, conversely, a list of negative keywords to ensure that we are showing only for relevant searches. You can't always control what people are doing or how they're searching. That's why campaigns like Performance Max pull things out of your control a little bit, and you have to use the available tools to keep things concise. There is a degree of waste in any digital advertising, and all you can do is use the controls and tools that you have at your disposal. Make sure that whoever's running your ads is paying attention to the results, and keeping a tight and close eye on what's going on. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great. Another question. Oh, the questions are just rolling in. This is great. CLS issues are our biggest problem with our core web vitals, more than 0.25. What steps do we take to improve this?
I think that one's going to be a bigger one to work with your website provider on for sure. So we'll have a list of all the questions coming through. So we can reach out and take a quick look with you behind the scenes to see where we can get some suggestions for you, or maybe more pointed questions to ask your provider. But I think the big thing, just with anything when it comes to those core web vitals and some of the CLS issues or any of the like content loading scripts, is what all do we have on the homepage? What all do we have on our SRPs? How many scripts are loading? So I would actually more think of this even as your overall page speed load time, not even just focusing on that one metric from your core web vitals. And taking a look and doing an audit of all the scripts you have running behind the scenes. How many third parties you have on your website that maybe don't need to be on every single page? Do you need every single script on your homepage if that's, the main culprit of where we're seeing those scores come in? So I think there's a few different things to think about. That one is going to be a big one with your web providers because sometimes it is just based on the size of images. It might be based on how the homepage is laid out itself and the actual space you need to fill in those lovely two-column blocks where we got a really big image on one side and we got a whole bunch of text on the other side. That's all going to play into account for how some of those scores are going to come through in like the page speeds insights because I'm imagining that's where the score in question was coming from.
Great. Next question is, what feedback or suggestions do you have for shoppers' experience with VDP overlays?
I'm thinking by VDP overlays, we mean like image overlays. Is that what everyone is assuming?
That's what my take. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I think generally the VDP overlays again are a holdover from the Auto Trader and classified listing sites, right? Where we and again that your dealer logo and your dealer phone number and your dealer URL were on every image that you pushed out because you did syndicate your inventory out to those third-party classifieds. I would challenge that an image added to a inventory photo is actually providing any value to the shopper. The second part of this presentation that Alecia and I did in Las Vegas at Digital Dealer was actually some click tracking and Hotjar like recordings of dealership websites. And by and large, the most clicked element of any page was the inventory photos. So is the overlay detracting from the story that the inventory photos is telling, or is it contributing to it? Do we think that having the dealership logo on your website where people have already found you and your dealership phone number on an image that is not a clickable element is actually going to contribute to the customer experience? Or are we providing them any additional information in that overlay that is going to really help them make a purchase decision? The other thing to consider is in the VLA space, it is against Google's policies to allow an overlay on images. Google does not want your image overlays. So it is kind of fighting a losing battle there. They will usually approve them, and they have started adding AI tools to remove them, but they are tricky. And so sometimes they'll get approved, sometimes they'll get declined. It really just depends. So really, when you're considering a VDP overlay, how much work is it? Is it helping the customer make a purchase decision, or is it just getting in the way of your perfectly good photo of the vehicle interior and the story that that photo is telling?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Erin. We've got another question. What is the single most common conversion? Ooh, this is a good one. What is the single most common conversion killer that bleeds ad spend, and how quickly can it typically be fixed?
Ooh, okay, that one. I'll give like a loose answer maybe on how quick it could be fixed, but that's going to be a convoluted answer probably. But the single most common killer would be the slow load speed. So specifically, again, how quick is your website going to load and on mobile? I would also take a look at some of your SRP and BDP pages when you're running those page speed insight tests as well. Because if it's taking more than 3 seconds for that website to load and be functional, right? So it's not just loading, it's also, can I start clicking things right away? You can expect bounces to jump, and some of the stats coming in are anywhere from 20 to 40%. So that's an increase in how fast people will bounce from your website if it doesn't load fast enough and it's not functional quick enough. So how fast can things like that be fixed? That's a much bigger question. Very similar to the previous question that was asking about the core website vitals. A lot of that's going to come back to asking some pointed questions to your website providers and seeing what can be done. Is it a matter of how many for an SRP, for example, how much inventory is loading on that first one? Is it capped at 10 a page? Is it capped at 50 a page? Is that impacting how fast things are loading? Like these are all really good questions. Since we're not the website providers and there is so many different flavors of website providers out there, that is going to be a big question to take back to them. But I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to take it back and ask. And maybe they do have some suggestions for what you could change, what you could remove, that could maybe speed up some of those load times. So hopefully that answers the question. But unfortunately, yeah, how quickly can it be fixed? That's going to be very different for every website provider. So I'd have to put that one back across the table on that.
Along the
I
same
would add,
lines,
oh,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Erin.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, along the same lines, this is another really great question and something, the team on this call can then take back to their providers and ask them, what are the top two essential items, maybe I'm sure there's more, that a dealership should monitor or audit monthly to ensure their ad spend is being spent efficiently?
So, um, I think that again is going to depend on the dealership and who you're working with as an advertising provider. But to be ensure your ad spend is being spent efficiently, you need to be looking at your keywords. I mean, keywords shouldn't be changing really unless you're changing campaigns monthly, but just understanding and having a really good understanding of what your vendor is doing for you in terms of advertising and how they set up their ads, so that you have confidence that like they are doing the right things to that earlier question. If you're working with a provider and you don't understand, then that's where I would start. I think the other thing is really on making sure that your merchandising of your inventory is on point. So pricing and photos. And I think that goes back to the last question where we talked about what's the biggest conversion killer. I'm sorry, but if you don't have photos of the vehicle, then as a shopper, I'm going to assume that it's either not there or not ready for sale. And if you drive traffic to that VDP and then the photos are not there, and it is not ready for sale, then I am not going to convert on that car. I'm going to go somewhere else that has photos of that vehicle and it is clearly ready for sale. So make sure that if your inventory is on the site, that it looks like it is there and ready for sale. That is going to drive the most efficiency and the best results.
No pick, that's a red flag, right?
Yeah.
This question is also a really, really good question, especially as we get into, year end or even the beginning of the next quarter. For a dealership with a limited marketing budget, what is the most cost-effective and high impact action item that can be implemented right now?
So I think classic. It depends. Sorry, team. There's no specific answer for any specific, like any one market. It's always going to depend on your dealership, your market, and what you're dealing with. If you're talking about efficiency from an advertising perspective, you want high quality traffic, low cost per click. That is going to be your most efficient ad spend. But the things that drive efficiency on your website, to the point of this webinar, are customer experience, photos, pricing, how easy is it to contact you guys? What is your, one thing that we haven't really talked about on today's call is what is your reputation in the market? I talked about this with a dealership actually earlier today, where you know what, your Google reviews and your trust and the appearance of trust and Google reviews on when I'm doing a digital search actually impact the click-through rate and the results that you're going to get from your digital advertising. Because if that customer recognizes your name and they see that you are trusted and you're established in the market, they are way more likely to click on your ad and to convert on your site. So all of it contributes. So start with a good quality website experience, start with efficient advertising. And by efficient, I mean low funnel, high converting, low cost per click, effective advertising, efficient website, and go from there.
Awesome. That is all for the questions I'm seeing in the Q&A. Does anyone else have any last questions, final thoughts, anything you want to share?
Awesome. Well, in case anyone's taking a minute to type out a final question or a thought, I did want to point out one last thing, and why I left it up on the screen here. We do have a little QR code in the bottom right-hand side. and that is a direct sign up link for our next webinar. So our next webinar is going to be in January. It's going to be a completely different pivot from this. It's going to be all about AI. So this one was all about back to basics and thinking about everything from 10 plus years ago. Now we're going to just jump to right now and everything going future forward with AI. But we do have a special guest joining us for that webinar. So definitely recommend you scan the QR quick before the screen's gone on your mobile device. It'll take you right to the webinar sign up form. But to Erin's point, she mentioned a few times that we looked at a lot of heat map data, scroll data, and a lot of insights that we got from Hotjar when we did our larger workshop on this down at Digital Dealer. So in the new year, probably in February or March, I'll say that right now so that we actually get it on the books and scheduled. We will do a part two of this webinar where we will go more into some of that data as well. So for anyone on the call who might be thinking, you love this series and you want to jump in, whether we schedule it in February or March, I think, well, one, it'd be great to go through this worksheet. Two, it would be great if you wanted to explore one of those scroll data or heat map providers. Again, we utilized Hotjar, but if you punch in a quick Google search, there's quite a few out there now. And if you get it implemented on your website now, you'd probably get a good, 45, maybe even 60 days of data. And it might prompt some more questions for you that maybe we could answer in the next one. But we'll definitely share some findings that we found, and a lot probably won't be too surprising, but we'll save some of those tidbits for the next webinar. So definitely recommend that you guys keep up to date with some of our webinars and what we got going on. January's will be a little different, but I'm excited for all the exciting topics that we have upcoming. And again, just want to thank you all for joining. It's almost been a full hour of your time leading up to Christmas, so thank you all, and we appreciate you for coming out. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.